Yeah, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is. No, first off, let me welcome everybody for tuning in wherever you are. I appreciate you. We're going to kick it off how we kick it off every single time. The law of thermodynamics say energy can neither be created nor destroyed but transferred. That means if you need good energy, guess what? I got it. And if you got good energy, guess what? I need it. I want to encourage everybody. You could either choose to be a thermostat or a thermometer. Now, when you walk into a room, a thermometer can only tell you the climate. Thermostat can change the temperature. When you walk into a room, do you understand what it means to master the room? I am Nellz. I'm an artist, rapper, writer, poet, speaker, public speaker, trainer. Try to know a little bit about a lot. I just want to tell you a little bit about my background before we get into the thick of things and cover these topics. I've been performing just as long as I've been talking, right? I was born with a speech impediment, and from there, I actually learned to overcome my impediment by being on this stage in front of people as a child. I could read, I could recite poetry, I could even sing without impediment. But if I tried to just hold a normal conversation, I had a terrible stutter. I mean, absolutely terrible stutter. But those was the seeds that was planted that ultimately got me into the position where I am now, where the most comfortable place in the world for me is on the stage. So, as I mentioned already, this is The World According to Nellz. Icons and Ideas presents The World According to Nellz. But I wanted to introduce myself first and let y'all know exactly who Nellz is. And then we're going to go on this journey. Let's go ahead and get it kicked off. This is where we're going to start at, right? Let's talk about the political climate. First and foremost, it's election season, right? And for everybody that's paying attention, if you are paying attention, every election season, especially I'm going to say going back to 2008 with Barack Obama, every election season brings so much volatility, for lack of a better word, so much polarization. You got Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, liberals. But now I think we've reached such an inflection point in the political climate where you have people almost like casual sports fans. You know how don't nobody really follow, football consistently, and then they get to the Super Bowl and all eyes are on the Super Bowl. So even the most casual fan or somebody not even interested is tuning in to watch the Super Bowl. That's where we are as it pertains to election season. Literally, I'm seeing commentary on social media, on traditional or what they call legacy media platforms alike, reaching a point where they are literally like just casual fans tuning into the Super Bowl. And the election season is the Super Bowl. Why do I want to talk about this? Why do I think this is important? It's because there's so many underlying factors in this, so many narratives, I want to say. So many narratives in this particular election, and I'm going to say the last several elections. As we all know, Joe Biden was kind of looking real shaky. He is old as I don't know what, so understandably so, but he dropped out of the race. That left the Democrats in a position where they could either go for a new candidate with zero exposure and kind of throw them in the middle of a race and see if they can make something of it, or they could go with somebody that was kind of already in it and build up from there. So obviously at this point, we all know they decided to make Kamala Harris the nominee. And of course, Trump been running the Republican side for a couple of years now because he's been able to galvanize the people in a way that other pundits haven't. But that arrives to the overarching point. I'm seeing a lot of black people, black men specifically, who in large feel ostracized by the Democratic Party. And there's this consistent narrative that's saying Democrats ain't did nothing for us. We've been pledging loyalty to them since the Civil Rights Act and all of those things that they were instrumental in then, but nothing has really panned out for us as a community as a whole since then, and yet we still pledging our allegiance. Gone are those days. So you have pushback from a sector of the Democratic Party that is essentially just upset because they feel like, and I'm speaking specifically to black men, because that's the largest, I think, black demographic that has an existential issue, not only with the Democratic Party, but with who is now the nominee in Kamala Harris because of her history and all of the scrutiny around that. Conversely, we also have this sway towards Donald Trump and his appeal to what he feels is minority or black and brown voters. This is why all of this is, as I lay that foundation there, this is why all of this is senseless to me. Overall, it is foolish to believe that party politics is going to liberate us in any capacity as a people. And in this moment, I'm speaking specifically to black people. No party is ever going to serve the overall welfare of the black community as a whole. So feel free to vote however you please. Feel free to believe and advocate for whomever you please. This is the world according to K. Nellz. So with that being said, it's very important that I say this. Party politics is not going to save your black ass, respectfully. It's just not. We have a history, literally a history of proof that shows no matter what party is in position, the overall condition of the African American communities in America remain the same. When Democrats are in positions of power, it's going to be a lot of hyperbole and narratives that appeal specifically to the black people, but that is just lip service. And it's the exact same thing for the Republican Party when they are in power. It's a lot of hyperbole and lip service when they're in position for the black people and for the black community. But one thing that has been 100% consistent is anytime you have any metrics that they can view and they can slant to paint a political narrative, black people are always on the worst end of whatever that spectrum is. So I see a lot of enthusiasm for black men for Donald Trump because he's the antithesis of what the Democratic Party has been representing. So it's not this idea that Trump has this uncanny ability to appeal to black men, because he don't. I can assure you, he don't. Black men, from my perspective, I have to put emphasis on it, largely feels that the Democratic Party has left them with no choice but to seek some sort of solace or validation elsewhere because in the current political climate, black men have been an afterthought. And that's what arrives us to the positions that we see today. So when you look at the political climate, whether it's Democrat or Republican, whether it's conservative, liberal, whether it's Donald Trump, Barack Obama, or whomever, although I understand, I don't agree with, but I understand the political positions that some black people take, the overarching principle that I have to stress is when we look at the conditions of our community, no matter who's in power, they suffer. So that's not me endorsing one candidate or the other, and that's not me telling anybody how to vote. Do what you feel, move how you feel. All I'm saying is critical thinking is extremely important. All I'm saying is it is supremely important for you to understand that you have to look at history and let it be our guide. When you look at the black experience within this country, from slavery, fast forwarding to the antebellum period, to the Civil Rights Act, to present day, no matter how you slice it, we have been suffering as a community. My love, my priority, my interest is with my community. So I'm going to speak to those things first. I'm going to empower those things first. So as it pertains to this political climate, I leave you with this idea. None are more helplessly enslaved than those who falsely believe that they're free. Much of the freedoms that Americans as a whole believe that they exhibit is the illusion created by the controlling and the ruling class to ensure that the sovereignty of us as a people remain caught up in the theatrics of everything that's going on. But the true power is being held by a very few people in this country and subsequently the world. So with that being said, I encourage everybody to do your due diligence, do your research, learn. Specifically, I have to speak to Black people because, again, I like to prioritize my people. It is very important that we are socially aware, that we are politically engaged on every level, because our liberation is going to come from our ability to create bridges that connects us, not walls that divide us. I'm talking about us as a people, us as a diaspora, to create bridges that connect us, not walls that divide us. And ultimately, we're going to have to be responsible for our own liberation. We are going to have to be responsible for our own freedom as a people. So, again, I'll touch on political topics more and more and more as we get closer to election day, as we get closer to this November. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of things in the news cycle. I'm going to talk traditional media. I'm going to talk it by traditional, I mean legacy media, your CNNs, your MSNBCs, so on and so forth, your Fox News, all of that. But I'm also going to talk social media, because there's been this wave of social media interruption in the normal news cycle. So we're going to touch on that. Let's talk about African unity. What do I mean by African unity? It's an awakening going on within the diaspora of Africa in all of its tentacles, all of its reach, and it's evident if you're paying attention to what's going on the continent itself. First of all, there is literally a genocide going on in the Congo right now. To call it anything other than a genocide is disingenuous. So I want to encourage everybody that's tuned in, that's watching this, to do some research, learn, and figure out what is going on in the Congo. Do some research on the Berlin Conference. Again, Google is at our disposal. I want to give everybody a little homework that's listening. Check out the Berlin Conference, what took place at the Berlin Conference, and how it shaped the future of Africa and how we arrived today. Because really what we're talking about is colonialism, but on so many different levels. But again, the evil is the same. The behavior is the same. So what am I talking about when I mean African unity? It's Mali, Niger, or Niger. Let me be correct. It's Mali, it's Niger, and it's Burkina Faso. They have created an alliance to take back what is rightfully theirs. They are removing the colonial infrastructure from their countries. They are coming together to create a currency for one another, to strengthen the economies and the livelihoods. It is not by any chance whatsoever that the most resource-rich places on this earth in Africa are the most economically poor places on this earth. That is not happenstance. So to call these African nations poor is disingenuous. So again, why is the unity of Africa important? Because I have to stress the point. It is important that as a diaspora of people, of melanated people, we build bridges that connects us instead of walls that separate us. What Ibrahim Traore is doing in Burkina Faso needs to be studied, needs to be operationalized, it needs to be executed throughout the diaspora. Needs to be studied, needs to be operationalized, needs to be replicated and executed throughout the diaspora. We are the only ones that's going to free ourselves and liberate ourselves. Colonialism has destroyed every African country that has resources that big tech companies need, big corporations need, etc., etc. So that's why when you understand the power in that unity, you look back at Gaddafi and it's so much, misinformation out there, so much stuff that has been perpetuated in terms of our understanding of what transpired. The reason why the CIA infiltrated Libya and Gaddafi and created civil insurrection and ultimately created a coup to destabilize their economy is because Gaddafi was trying to do in Libya the same thing that Ibrahim Traore is doing in Burkina Faso. And that's taking back the power from the colonial thumb of oppression that has been present in their country since the Berlin Conference and even before. That's why it's very important that everybody go out, Google the Berlin Conference, get as much information and learn about what it is and how it impacted the future of the continent of Africa as it pertains to today. Because what the unity of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso is doing is it's undoing what took place in the Berlin Conference. They divided Africa up like pieces of pie amongst the European nations and occupied it, destabilized their countries and economies in order for them to be able to rape and pillage and use the resources for a lot of the things that we utilize today, like electric vehicles or smartphones or smart devices. All of these things do not exist without the resources that's present in a lot of the African countries that is being taken advantage of present day. So our power lies in our unity. Understand that. Don't ever get it confused. And by our unity, I mean not only us as African Americans, I also mean us throughout the diaspora. That includes the Caribbean. It also includes the continent of Africa itself. It's very important that we create these alliances because our strength is going to be the fact that melanated people are the majority. Don't get caught up in the hype. I promise you. Everything that they talking about is cap as it pertains to our influence and impact on a global scale. They have literally raped and pillaged our countries. They have literally raped and pillaged our lands. They have literally raped and pillaged our culture. And then turn it on us and say we're the problem. So our unity is extremely important. That's why these diaspora wars that we see, in my opinion, from my perspective, again, this is the world according to Nellz, 100% need to cease. And by cease, I mean 100%. There's far too many actors out there using their platforms. They build these huge platforms. They build these huge social media presence and then ultimately use them for division. Whether you're foundational Black American, whether you're from the Caribbean, whether you're from the continent of Africa. One thing that we all have in common is our oppressors is the same. Our enemies are the same. Why am I stressing that point? Because it's so many things that you see and so many narratives that you see playing out, especially in the social media landscape. Again, I know a lot of this isn't really taking place in the real world, although it is, but a lot of it is taking place on social media, and the perception of social media does shape real world perspectives. That's why it's important that I speak to it. So for all my foundational Black Americans, first and foremost, by definition, I would be considered, and I am a foundational Black American. The reason why I make that distinction is to make this point. In spite of, I have to level with you and say, everybody that claimed that the FBA or the Foundational Black American moniker and all the things associated with being direct descendants of the slaves of this land being America. I understand your pain because it is our ancestors that literally fought, died to build this country, to build every aspect of freedom and liberation that's exercised by the peoples in this country, only for us to be the ones not to be able to capitalize off of the work of our ancestors like everybody else. So I can understand why it's frustrating when you see other people throughout the diaspora then come to this land and then able to build theirs and then send their resources back to their homelands to be able to build their infrastructure. Although I understand and can sympathize with that perspective, it is very important that I stress that that is so small, because we have to draw the parallels between the fact that the same colonialism that is responsible for the oppression that exists in America, whether that's systemic racism, whether that's a very prejudicial and racial injustice system, I won't call it a justice system, a racial and prejudicious injustice system, although that's the same thermal oppression that's responsible for slavery. When you look at whether it's the Caribbean or Africa, they're victims of the exact same colonial oppression. They are victims of the exact same enemy. So, because that's the case, while we too busy creating division amongst each other, whether you're foundational Black American or Caribbean or African, our enemy is exactly the same. I have to bring up my point again. We have to build bridges. We have to build bridges. that connects us instead of walls that divides us. I am 100% against the diaspora wars. 100%. I understand and I sympathize with everybody's perspective. But I know in order for us to truly be liberated as a diaspora of people, it is going to take our unification in order to achieve this. So to all of my foundational Black Americans, I understand. I 100% understand. Trust me. But I also understand the need for our Caribbean brothers and sisters and for our African brothers and sisters and all the indigenous people throughout the Americas and everywhere else around the world. Because when you look at the indigenous people, guess what? They melanated. So I wanted to touch on the diaspora wars because it's becoming more and more common, especially in the social media landscape. You have so many of these people that's playing, well, Caribbeans online criticizing Black Americans, Africans online criticizing Black Americans, Black Americans online criticizing Caribbeans, Black Americans online criticizing Africans, when in essence, all of us are victims of the same enemy, and we need to redirect that energy to who the true enemy is. One thing I love and respect about our ancestors, when we look back 40, 50, 60, 70 years, at least they were on code. 100%, the diaspora of people, of Black people, have more power, influence, and money than ever before, and resource than ever before. Yet we are more divided than we have ever been because we continue to draw distinctions based on our differences instead of truly building walls based on all the ways we are alike. So, as it pertains to the diaspora wars, it's complete, in my opinion, complete and utter nonsense. I can't rock with it at all. Anything that divides us, I have to consciously object, and I'm in support of those things that unite us. Speaking of which, let's talk about the legend, Buju Banton. We have to talk about the legend. First of all, I got to start off by giving him his flowers and salute to everything that he do, all of his contributions that he's been able to make to reggae music and, you know, his Jamaican nationality and heritage and all of those things. The reason why I salute him, because in my perspective, from my eyes, he is considered an elder. Again, I have to reiterate, from my perspective, in my eyes, he is considered an elder, and I believe in spiritual principle. And spiritual principle says you have to honor and respect your elders so that your days are long upon the earth. So I hope that one day I'll be able to say, as a matter of fact, I'm not going to hope. I don't believe in hope. I'm going to manifest. I'm going to believe. I'm going to speak into existence. I'll be able to sit down with the legend Buju, and we'll be able to have a conversation and talk about, and I know he got so much wisdom that he'll be able to impart. For anybody who has not seen, check out his interview on the Breakfast Club. I'm sorry, not the Breakfast Club, Drink Champs. Check out his interview specifically on the Drink Champs episode. He talked about so many different things. He talked about the difference between dance hall and reggae. I think that's a very important distinction for everybody who appreciate music and appreciate the art of expression. Understanding that distinction, because he draw the parallel. So check out the interview and see on that. He talk about the power of Haiti. He talk about why Haiti is suffering. That is a conversation that's not being had enough. Shout out to all my Haitians out there, everybody that I've met or came in contact with, but everybody from Haiti, I have to send my love. I have to send my support. I have to send my prayers. I have to send my strength, because to quote Martin Luther King, an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So if my Haitian people are suffering, then I'm suffering. If my Jamaican people are suffering, then I'm suffering. If all my people throughout the Caribbean are suffering, then I'm suffering. If all my people throughout the continent of Africa are suffering, then I'm suffering. If all my people within the United States and the ghettos of America is suffering, I'm suffering. So I first want to start off and salute to the elder Buju. I praise you. I have to give you your flowers. But also, I feel like it's my duty to give you a little pushback as well. I love everything that you were talking about in the interview, and I'm always a proponent for the freedom of expression, especially with the passion, wisdom, and insight that you have. I just have to say that I feel it's a little arrogant to talk about how dancehall and reggae influence Afro beats, but at the same time call Afro beats fuckery, because and then raise the question, what does it do to liberate Africans? That's the epitome, of my opinion, of throwing stones when you live in a glass house. When you look at the conditions of the Caribbean, whether you're talking about Jamaica, whether you're talking about Haiti, and although we have fought consistently for our freedom, they still remain under the thumb of the same colonial oppression that we've all dealt with as a diaspora. So I have to give you a little pushback, because although the points that you were making have some validity, talking about the influence of reggae and dancehall on Afro beats. I've heard Afrobeat artists speak on the influence directly that they got from Jamaican culture and in reggae and dancehall. We still have to understand that our power is in our collective unity. You can't praise on one end. That's called a backhanded compliment. He praising them on one end and saying, you know, the influence is there and see all that, and then you denigrate them by saying it's fuckery because they don't do nothing to liberate Africans. I feel like, again, we got to give a little bit more grace to one another as a diaspora people. We got to give a little bit love and respect to one another, and understanding and compassion. Now, I know the root of the point that you were making, and I encourage everybody to watch the interview for themselves and formulate their opinions for themselves. The point that you were making is, as dancehall, as these African artists, Afrobeat artists, have paid homage and respect and said that dancehall and reggae was a huge influence for Afrobeats, you don't feel like just due is given to reggae and dancehall. I'm not inclined to disagree with you there. But at the same time, it's very important that we give each other grace. Because as you said, I have to quote what you said in that interview. You said, we have been speaking to the liberation of the African continent through words, sound, and power. We desire more. That's what you said. And simultaneously, I have to ask you to extend a level of compassion to the African continent, to the diaspora, and to these artists who are forging their way through the colonialism that we all suffer from, to be able to create a platform of artistic expression for their communities, for their peoples, for their cultures, for their tribes. Again, I'm going to stress, let's build bridges that connect us, not walls that separate us. Let's build bridges that connect us, not walls that separate us. So salute to the legend, the icon, the elder, and Buju. I respect you, I honor you, but at the same time, I feel it necessary to give you pushback, and I hope to one day have the conversation with you. So, in understanding the diaspora wars and talking about culture, unfortunately, you can't have culture without having a culture vulture. And hip hop is one of those. First of all, hip hop is something that I love. My first time in a recording studio to rap was when I was 9 years old, and I've been around hip hop and a part of hip hop my entire life. I have to give a shout out to Vince Staples to say, and quote him when he said, "Asking me when I fell in love with hip hop is like asking me when I fell in love with my mother." Like, it's always been there. It's always been a part of me. So I got to salute to you for that. But with culture and promoting culture in the way that we do, unfortunately, the unintended consequence is culture vultures. And one of the hugest problems with hip hop in present day is, although we as Black people influence, create the entire culture of hip hop, we don't benefit from it as much as some of the other races of people benefit from the culture of hip hop. I happen to be on social media scrolling, and it's a few people. I try to keep all of the noise off my timeline for my peace of mind. I try to control the algorithm as it pertains to me as much as possible. So I got a few people and ideas and thoughts muted and blocked and all of those things. So sometimes I get information late. This is one of those times. But I happen to log in and see that Marlon Wayans had some sort of tiff with DJ Vlad. Automatically, I already know DJ Vlad is one of the main culture vultures within the industry of hip hop because he is 100% an outsider and he continues to perpetuate negative stigma, narrative, and so on and so forth as it pertains to our culture and our people. While we build these bridges amongst each other, it's very important that we insulate ourselves from people that have nefarious intentions with our culture, with our creativity. DJ Vlad, I can't stress this enough. DJ Vlad is 100% one of those people that intends to capitalize off certain narratives and conversations. 100%. He intends to paint hip hop in a certain light as he continue to do and benefit from the real world experiences and trauma of people that's really going through it. So when we have one of our beloved legends, our beloved icons like Marlon Wayans, who I have to stress is an icon, Keenan Ivory Wayans and the Wayans family have created such a legacy within the entertainment industry that we have to honor. He's one of ours. It's important that I speak to it. We can't allow people like DJ Vlad to disrespect our legends and icons. He's done it time and time again. This is not his first rodeo. But as long as we continue to click on DJ Vlad interviews and watch them, then we continue to give him power and a voice and a platform within a culture that he do not belong to and he do not have the best interests of. So because that is glaringly apparent in a lot of the things that he talk about and a lot of the controversies that surround him, we have to get rid of culture vultures like DJ Vlad from our culture because he don't serve the overall welfare of the culture. As long as we continue to let these outsiders in, we continue to see the same thing that we see. Hip hop is such when we look at his origins, it was truly one of the purest forms of artistic expression. And we've seen it transformed into a weapon used to continue to perpetuate stigmas and stereotypes and tropes about us as a community. It continue to be a magnifying glass of the worst, most rudimentary and insidious parts of our culture. And then they blast that on the world stage to paint a narrative for everybody that exists within the culture. And we know hip hop is such a nuanced culture that it is disingenuous to try to relegate it to one little sector or position or thought or idea. But we have so many outsiders with influence that we continue to see it. We continue to see it. And thusly, you have people like DJ Vlad who have the audacity to speak anything other than high praise to the legends and the icons within our culture. So please, if you hear me, if you're under the sound of my voice, man, get rid of these people, man. Get rid of, again, I'm trying to navigate this water. I'm trying to limit the amount of curse words that I use because I really want to get crazy. So I'm going to have to tap into the Patreon and all of that because I got choice words for a lot of these folk. But in an effort to remain monetized, I'm very diligent in how I speak about what I speak. But again, we have to protect and insulate our culture from people that don't serve the overall purpose of our culture. That includes DJ Vlad and so many others. We'll touch on them. So get rid of the culture vultures. We don't need them. To that, let's take a drink. Shout out to Marlon Wayans. Shout out to the Wayans family. Shout out to all the black entertainers, artists, professionals, so on and so forth that's out there being great. We're going to continue to be great. With that being said, we're going to lighten the mood a little bit. I know I kind of jumped out the window talking about the toughest of ideas. But again, this is the world according to Nellz. I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't let y'all into the most vulnerable sides of my thought process and the level of influence that I am aiming to have in the certain conversations that I want to have. So I got to be true to myself first. And I will do that, no doubt. So we're going to lighten the mood a little bit. We're going to segue from talking about, the heavy stuff. And let's get into some sports and entertainment. How about that? Let's do that. So let's talk sports and entertainment. Here you go. I got a couple of things that I've seen across the timeline, across the media world that kind of got my interest. I'm going to kick it off. Apparently there's been this craze over this little demure situation. You feel me? It's kind of throwing me off a little bit. Every now and then, you know what I learned about social media, man? Every now and then, they get a hold of these words, ideas, and concepts, and then they bleed them dry. Like, for example, toxic. They got a hold of toxic, and that's all you hear through the social media landscape, especially when talking about love and relationships. They got a hold of misogynism, misogyny, misogynistic, every variation of the word, and they running this mother to the ground. They got a hold of trauma. They got a hold of all of these ideas and concepts, and now we just see them just ran into the ground on social media. And it looks like Demure is one of them. So listen, I'm literally going into my phone now, and I'm pulling up the definition, so we on the same page. So let's talk Demure. Demure. All right, so let's see Webster's definition. Characterized by shyness and modesty, reserve. Affectedly or coyly decorous, sober, or sedated. The origins go back to 1350 to 1400. Well-mannered, all of those types of synonyms. And I don't know how it started, and I can't even tell you that I care how it started, but now that's all the conversation on social media has been. So, like everything else, this is going to be the topic of discussion, or the hyperbole, or the adjective, or whatever you want to, however you want to classify it. It's going to be used, it's going to be ran to the ground like everything that preceded it, because that is the shelf life of trends on social media. So we're going to see it. So for everybody that's really just getting into this idea or understanding of demure and what it means, welcome. You're expanding your vocabulary. Congratulations. As for all of us that are existing in the real world, we'll continue to live our lives the way we live our lives, and just tune in and laugh at memes and other social media banter. I won't spend too much time on demure, but if you want to know more, just go to TikTok, type in DEMURE, and have fun. Let's segue from there. Let's talk a little bit about Keke Palmer. First of all, I got to give a shout out to Keke Palmer because she a fellow Virgo. Salute to all my Virgos out there. Let's establish that. We're going to raise that glass. Let's drink to all the Virgos. Now that we be on that, a couple of months ago, maybe it was like 6 months or so, Keke Palmer had the social media landscape in a frenzy because there was so much controversy and allegations and all of that about her baby father and the behaviors. Now, if you rewind even a little ways back, you had the whole Usher fiasco. I'm gonna keep it 100. Let me go ahead and just set the record straight. If Usher pull your girl out the crowd and start singing to her and serenading her and all that good stuff, she for the streets, broski. I can't. Okay, she gone, bro. She belongs to the streets. It's over. Usher is Usher. Let's not, for a moment, let us not act like Usher is not who he is. These are my confessions. Come on. We talking about Usher. We talking about 8701. You talking about, you make me want to leave the one I'm with and start a new relationship with you. We talking about Usher, man. That's not light work. You playing with heavyweights. So you chilling. You buy a ticket. You think you about to spend a nice time with your shorty. She looking gorgeous, beautiful, wonderful, all of those adjectives. You clean, stunting, you good. Then you go to an Usher concert. Usher doing this thing. He being Usher. He calls your lady out the crowd, grab her hand, look into her eyes, and start to serenade her. It's over, dog. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I don't know, like, most of these women gonna fold like a lawn chair. So we already know Keke Palmer in that situation. You know, she was having fun. She was enjoying herself. It was harmless. It wasn't what transpired with Usher that took over the social media narrative. It's what that followed afterwards. Now, first of all, people made a big deal out of her outfit. I won't rehash the past too much. But the person that was supposed to have all of the issues, he saw her before she left the house. He was aware of what she had on. So that wasn't the narrative. Ultimately, what we realized is this fiasco with Usher just being the entertainer that he is exposed the insecurity within their relationship. That is not Usher's fault. That was stuff that they needed to work on within their relationship to help make what they do fruitful, to help make what they do stable. And obviously it wasn't, because something as little as Usher pulling her out the crowd, serenading her, doing his entertainment thing, caused so much speculation and narratives and arguments. Only to fast forward to a time where literally 6 months ago, it was allegations of physical abuse. I'm talking about serious verbal abuse. All of it was allegations of some serious stuff. And we just seen what looked to be a spiral out of control for Keke Palmer. And only to fast forward to present day, and they seemingly happily together, raising their child, which is their responsibility, and so on and so forth. So, although it was a lot of controversy, although it was a lot of people, one thing, this is what I always caution everybody. Once you put your stuff on display in the social media landscape, you give the world permission to have an opinion about ideas, concepts, thoughts that's supposed to be private or that should be private. But once you let the genie out the bottle, you can't put it back in. And that's what you see. And that's what I think a lot of times, sometimes celebrities fail to realize. Like, yeah, they're human, they're people too. But the reality is, once you open Pandora's box, it's over. So Keke Palmer opened Pandora's box. You let people, you gave the public at large permission to have an opinion about your personal relations with the father of your child. And now, when everything is smooth and going well, you had a whole generation of women outraged, and you back happy with the person that they was outraged about. Listen, for everybody out there, this is a piece of advice that I give unsolicited. When you're in a relationship with somebody, be careful with how you talk about them to other people. You should never talk about the person that you're with in a negative light with other people. And the reason why I say that is this. Because you give, and a lot of times it be loved ones and friends. Once you give them that information, you can't tell them how to feel about that information. So if you tell them some stuff about your significant other that's not painting them in the best light, and then they turn around as a result of the information that you gave them, feel some type of way about that significant other, you can't tell them how to feel. So that's why it's best to be mindful of the information that you divulge about your relations and your relationship. So Keke Palmer, you just try and live your best life. It ain't no handbook to this life. You just trying to be healthy and live and learn. And you deserve the autonomy to do so. But the reality is you are a public figure. And everything that you do is subject to scrutiny. And all the information that you put out there in the space, you give permission to people to have an opinion and feeling about you and what you have going on. And so now, when it seems like you're happy, and even there's rumors of you being pregnant with your second child, with your baby father, everybody have an opinion about it because 6 months prior, you gave them permission to have an opinion when everything was bad. And now that everything is good, they're like, oh, so we was doing all this and you back with them. The key word that I want everybody to take into consideration is mind your business. And I know that was more than one word, but when you say it how I say it, it becomes one word. Mind your business. But honestly, if you just mind your business, everything will be all right. Moving right along. Did anybody see Tyrese, a.k.a. Marvin Gaye, a.k.a. what the was that on your face? Perform the national anthem. Listen, Black Ty, I love you, G. I love Tyrese. When it comes to just standing flat-footed on the stage and singing your heart out, it ain't too many people that want to jump in that territory with Tyrese, with Black Ty. But I have to listen. I'm gonna be fair, bro. First, let me start off by saying, if you haven't seen the footage, check it out. Tyrese was singing the national anthem at the LA Chargers preseason game. Now, apparently, he's auditioning to play Marvin Gaye in some sort of biopic. Salute to him. More power to him. I feel him. Now, a couple of years ago, some audition footage from Django leaked or was released or whatever that Tyrese did and submitted to Quentin Tarantino. And obviously, Jamie Foxx got the role as Django. But the footage that Tyrese submitted was so bad. I don't even know. I wish it was an adjective that I had to explain the type of nonsense that transpired in this audition video. But if you haven't seen it, just go to Google or YouTube or whatever. Type in Tyrese Django audition. I promise you, you will. I don't know how to explain. It's some of the. I don't know whether to laugh because it's funny, or genuinely feel sorry for how deplorable his audition was for that role. But now we're talking Marvin Gaye. Now Marvin Gaye is obviously his purview. Is somebody that, as a singer, the caliber of Tyrese, is somebody that he obviously respects. Marvin Gaye is one of the greatest voices in soul music and R&B music. So I understand, Tyrese being extremely enthusiastic about this opportunity. But my man, what's the yo that play Abraham Lincoln in the biopic? That do all the method acting. Tyrese is trying to garner the spirit of him. I wish I could remember his name. It's on the tip of my Daniel Day-Lewis. God damn it, if Tyrese ain't trying to resurrect the spirit of Daniel Day-Lewis, he is in full Marvin Gaye mode. My man got the leather beard that you take off and put on a mannequin at the end of the night. My man had the fake bush. My man had even the beanie. Go back and look at the old pictures of Marvin Gaye where he had the beanie on. My man is in full Marvin Gaye mode. Bro, these people ain't come to this preseason football game to hear all that bullshit. Tyrese, I love you to death. I love you to life. Let me say I love you to life. I really do rock with you, Tyrese. But you was tripping. Respectfully, from one black man to another, you was tripping to perform the national anthem in character. And I gotta say this. Even if you had already had the role, I get it. I understand. But as I understand it, you don't even have the role. You still auditioning to get the role. And you out here in full character, in full costume. And the Marvin Gaye estate don't play. Ask Robin Thicke, T.I., and Pharrell. They come after everything. So stay tuned on that. Stay tuned on that. Moving right along, let's segue from Tyrese and his little, extracurricular national anthem. Let's talk sports. Obviously, with the Olympics just transpiring, you got WNBA, you got the NFL about to start, you got the conclusion of the NBA, you got so much talk about so many things surrounding sports. I feel it's very important that I touch on a couple of topics. Again, this is the world according to Nellz. It's only right that I, keep it 100 with you. That being said, first of all, let me give a shout out to the South Carolina Gamecock legend, WNBA legend at this point, Asia Wilson. I gotta give you your props, gotta give you your flowers while you can smell them. What you're doing in the WNBA right now is unprecedented. Shout out to Cheryl Cooper, shout out to Cheryl Swoops and all of those people that laid the groundwork, Lisa Leslie, all of the OGs in WNBA, because they laid the foundation. They crawled so Asia could walk. So salute to all the legends out there. I gotta keep it 100. But like everything else, because America in a social perspective is so polarized, it is permeating everything that is American, including sports. So you can't talk about the WNBA without talking about Caitlin Clark. But really, you can't talk about Caitlin Clark without talking about Angel Reese. And the reason why I say that, because if you rewind a couple of years ago, nobody knew who Caitlin Clark was. I don't want to be disingenuous. I'm sorry. Let me take that back. People that followed women's college basketball was familiar with Caitlin Clark because she was putting in work, and rightfully so. But America had this uncanny ability to create narratives around their great white hopes. Caitlin Clark has spent her career trying to be and working to be a great basketball player. And by the work that she put in, that is her primary focus. Salute to her. But a couple of years ago, she got catapulted into the world stage, into the American stage, to be this great white hope. And that's not a mantle that she asked for. The narrative that we see is not a Caitlin Clark problem. It's the polarization of the American society problem. Because in that game, we watch LSU face off against Iowa, and we watch Angel Reese be dominant, be her confident self, and people immediately had a problem with it, and they had to paint the Joker to Caitlin Clark Batman. With every hero, you need a villain. They dubbed Caitlin Clark as a hero. So naturally, being that Angel Reese was her opposition, she had to be the villain. And Angel Reese embraced that role, not directly, but she just continued to be a confident, beautiful, and dominant self. And naturally, at that moment, once she started to be braggadocious and boisterous, just like Caitlin Clark, the American public at large had a problem with her. And it created the polarization that we see in the WNBA. And now you can't talk Caitlin Clark without talking Angel Reese. And you can't talk Angel Reese without talking Caitlin Clark. But guess what? Asia Wilson out here putting up ridiculous numbers. Crazy numbers. She's on a trajectory that has never before been seen in the WNBA. So while all of this polarization is going on, you just have beautiful women that just want to play the game that they love. And they should be afforded the right without all of the narratives that's being created for the benefit of clicks and likes and social media content and so on and so forth. They just trying to ball, that's it. So with that being said, I got to say salute to Angel Reese. Salute to Caitlin Clark. Salute to Asia Wilson. You're doing your thing. But we have to be mindful of the type of narratives and conversation that's being created around people because they're in the public eye. These people just want to enjoy their career, enjoy their lives, and do what they love, and they should have that. But the one thing about fame is you forfeit your privacy. You forfeit your autonomy once you agree and sign up for fame. And unfortunately, sometimes you don't have a choice to agree or sign up for fame. Sometimes fate just have it in the cards, and you just have to navigate the water. So I encourage everybody to give Angel Reese grace, to give Caitlin Clark grace, and obviously salute to Asia Wilson. Let's talk the big three. Shout out to the big three. Ice Cube is doing something unprecedented with the big three. But I got to talk about the challenge that he extended to keep to the theme of sports. My man said, look, they playing 3-on-3 basketball in the Olympics. And the big three will take on anybody that wants smoke from the Olympics. And I believe it was like the Netherlands or Switzerland or somebody, forgive me for not knowing right offhand, but somebody was like, yo, I accept the challenge. And then they country intervened like, no, you ain't going to do that. So basically Ice Cube sent out a challenge for anybody. He basically said, look, the big three runish. Simply put, you could put any three you want to put on the world stage, and I'll take my big three all-stars, and they going to dominate. And I'm forced to agree with him. Ice Cube is doing a phenomenal job with creating an ecosystem for retired NBA players to really thrive and really have a second career outside of what they dedicated their life to. And the fans enjoy it. I love it. I love to see some of my favorite former NBA players still lace them up, still put in that work. So shout out to Ice Cube and the big three. And keep it to the Olympic theme. Got to touch on Tyreek Hill and Noah Lyles. Now, we all know the controversy that started with Noah Lyles talking about, you know, how he look at the NBA hoist the championship trophy and they call themselves the world champ. The world champ of what? The United States? That was literally his response. And again, everybody is entitled to their opinion. But I got to give you some pushback. Because now you performing on the world stage. The NBA athletes is performing on the world stage, and we see what we see. We see dominance. In any event, it's enough love to go around. It's enough for everybody to understand their roles and responsibilities and do what they love at the highest level. Tyreek Hill is a world-class athlete. I have to say that. Tyreek Hill also ran ridiculous numbers in track and field when he was in high school. Now, granted, he took his talents to the gridiron to play NFL. I understand. I respect it wholeheartedly. But I think he got an argument. If we talking about 50 or 60 yards in a race between Tyreek Hill, aka the cheetah, and Noah Lyles, I can't call it either way. I wouldn't bet my money on that. I'm gonna keep it 100. Tyreek a different monster. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to downplay Noah because track speed is different from NFL speed. But what I'm saying is, Cheetah got track speed. You just can't downplay that. So, Noah Lyles, if your goal is to be likable and build your brand in a court of a public opinion, you're doing a horrible job. But if your goal is just to be a dog and say F what anybody think, I'm gonna say what I want to say and do what I want to do, then I have to tip my hat to you because you are pissing off every athletic sport that is not track and field. So with that being said, I just want to see him race. Because the proof gonna be in the pudding at the end of the day. Just to kind of bring it on home, be vigilant, always be willing to listen, always be willing to learn. Understand that the laws of thermodynamics say energy is neither created nor destroyed, but transferred. So you have an opportunity to either be a thermostat or a thermometer in every room that you walk into. Now, a thermometer can tell you the temperature of the room. Thermostat is going to change the climate. You choose through your energy, effort, and attitude on whether or not you're going to be a thermostat when you walk into a room and completely be a master and change the climate, or you're going to be a thermometer and you're going to come in a room and you're going to assimilate to the status quo of the room. I would sincerely hope that you would not be the latter. Again, I got to thank you for tuning in. This is Icons and Ideas, the world according to Nellz. Let's have some fun. You're now tuned into Icons and Ideas. This is the world according to Nellz. Please like, comment, subscribe. Check out all of my content across all platforms. On YouTube, I am Nellz. On Instagram, Nellz. On Twitter, Nellz. On Facebook, Nellz. That's Kaynellz. Again, Kaynellz. Go to the YouTube channel, like, comment, subscribe to keep up with all the content. Not only just the world according to Nellz, but music, videos, all different types of content, and as it pertains to the many talents that I possess. So again, do me this favor. If you rocking with me, like, comment, share, subscribe. I can't thank you enough in advance. Thank you for rocking with me. Yeah.